So, coming just after the royal wedding, I thought would be a good time to discuss the state of republicanism in the UK. This is coming on top of some controversy generated by the MP for Kensington, Labour MP for Kensington, which of course is a constituency that covers royal palaces, Emma Dent Coad. Uh, and she's been a long-standing Republican, as are quite a number of people within the Labour Party and in other parties as well. But basically, she said something along the lines of if Princess Diana had been alive, she wouldn't have approved of the expenses. Well, I think it was very crass to bring the groom's deceased mother into it. And this is an issue I have with hardcore republicanism. There is a slight vitriolic aspect to it. Well, not even slight. Sometimes it's very pronounced. And I think Emma Dent Coad represents that. It's not the first time she's made spiteful, and that's what I think it is, spiteful comments about particularly Prince Harry. She questioned his military record, um, which is pretty rich. She hasn't been to Afghanistan, he has. But, even allowing for the fact that you agree with some of her views, there is a tendency for Republicans in this country, and I'm not talking about all Republicans. There's many Republicans who have their views and they're respectful about it, but there are there are a number of Republicans, and you see this sometimes online, and they are really just vitriolic. They just hate the royals, and I can understand them hating the concept of monarchy. That I can accept, but to actually be so spiteful towards the royal family as individuals, I don't have time for that. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn probably has Republican sentiments. Um, but he just wished the young couple well. That's a good measured response. It's not often they commend Corbyn, but he, I feel, made the right response. Um, but anyway, Emma Dent Coad headed the Republic International Convention. Now, according to Mark Wallace of Conservative Home, 70 people were in attendance. He was a guest columnist in the newspaper, which is not exactly, a conservative newspaper, far from it. But he made the case that it's very much monarchy one, republicanism zero. 18 million people watched the royal wedding. 18 million people. Now that is up there with one of our most viewed television events ever. It's slightly lower than William and Kate and Charles and Diana, but it's still very high. Um, and bear in mind where this is the nature of television broadcasts are different, where you have simultaneous coverage over different channels. In the past, there was fewer channels around, so it's a bit like measuring music sales. It's not an exact science, but regardless, I think everyone can agree it was a big media event. Even if you're a Republican, you can't deny that it was a big media event. Um, I will always, always, always defend the right of Republicans to have their view. That's something I'm very insistent about. And I did come across the other extreme, in my view, other extreme, which was on talk radio from the end of last year when she made the controversial comments about Harry's military service, where the presenter James Whale said if she was a bloke, he would call her out. And in his view, it was treason and so on. Well, James Whale, I've news for you. This is not Thailand, and it is not illegal to criticize the royal family. Certainly, we have libel laws. So if someone makes a false claim about a member of the royal family, it's I would have thought make it's the same implications as making a false claim about any other public figure. Um, and people shouldn't do that. They shouldn't smear public figures with falsehoods. But I would never ever support a situation where people are punished for having Republican views. That to me is utterly grotesque and has no place in the modern world. So James Whale, you're equally wrong. Um, and I thought his whole attitude, there's a video with it, was a bit blowhard, and that's not the sort of royalism I support. So there is vitriolic Republicans who just hate the royals, and sometimes it is pure nasty spitefulness, like they wish ill on individual members and so on. And also, some of their claims are just plain false, like they're lazy and they sit on their behinds all day. Not true. I'm guessing the Queen, for a woman of 92, does a lot more work than some of the hate-filled Republicans that attack her. Um, and every member of the royal family has, well, some maybe more so than others, but I think it's unfair to say they do nothing. I think that's just a petty attack that has no basis in fact. But on the other hand, I'm not a fan of sycophantic royalism. I'm a royalist. I get into it, as you can see, right? Enough of a royalist to buy the tack, and I don't mind admitting it is tack. But 100 years from now, it's history. That's why I do it, right? I will always defend the right of republicanism, and I don't have time for that sort of sycophantic royal monarchism, right? But leaving aside the two extremes, I think the trend is still very much pro monarchy because every time it's called into question, this happened during the Diamond Jubilee. The public don't have the affection for the monarchy they once had, or they said it during William and Kate's wedding. They've said it during Harry and Meghan's wedding. Every time that consensus among Republicans is defied. Even Republicans have conceded that the public isn't, Republican campaigners have conceded we're a very long way from a republic. It's just very difficult to see this country as a republic. I mean, the United Kingdom will no longer exist, obviously. We'd have to be the Republic of Britain. But one of the major benefits, I think, of the monarchy is it keeps the UK together, and I can think of many others. I just can't see this country as a republic. Of course, that in itself isn't a reason not to be a republic. And I do think there is going to be serious issues when the Queen passes. I think she's the last of the old generation. I don't really know what's going to happen in the future. It depends what sort of approach King Charles III takes. But I just don't think that, despite Republican sentiments online, and even if we allow for the fact there's maybe more Republican views out there than, for example, Mark Wallace of Conservative Home claims, he says it's between 10 and 20%. Let's say it might be higher, let's say it's 30 or even 40%. Even allowing for that, it's a minority. The majority of the British public are still, if not hardcore royalist. I mean, the vast majority of us aren't going to camp out overnight, you know, in the rain to see the wedding. But there is a soft royalism, royalist sentiment, I think, within this country. And I like the fact that we're not as extreme as a country like Thailand or Morocco or countries where you could be punished for not being, subservient, slavish, groveling. Yes, there are some royalists in the UK who go on a bit like that. I'm not one of them. But I also think there are some Republicans who are overtly vitriolic. And, they don't exactly help their argument with that sort of attitude. What's it bringing to their argument by just being spiteful towards two young people on the wedding day? It's not going to win an argument. It's just not. You can talk about cost, but actually the royal family paid for the cost of the wedding. So, you know. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts. If you're a Republican, if you're a royalist, please keep it civil. Thanks for watching.